What would you risk to save your people? Now, I want you to sit with that for just a second, because I'm about to tell you about a woman who actually had to answer that question. And when she did, she knew that the wrong move, the wrong word, even the wrong moment could cost her everything. This happened over 2,000 years ago in the heart of the Persian Empire, and what this woman did has echoed through history ever since. So, let me set the scene for you. It's around 480 BC, and King Xerxes is ruling over one of the largest empires the world has ever seen. We're talking about territory stretching from India all the way to Ethiopia. This guy has power, wealth, armies, everything. And in his capital city of Susa, there's this massive palace with gold columns, draped fabrics, servants everywhere. But here's what you need to understand. Living in that same city is a Jewish girl named Esther, and she's an orphan. Her parents died when she was young, and she's being raised by her older cousin Mordecai, who's basically become her father. Now, Esther is beautiful, like remarkably beautiful, but she's also humble, quiet, and she's hiding something huge. She's Jewish. And at this point in history, that's information you keep to yourself because you never know when it might get you killed. Mordecai has told her, "Don't tell anyone." And she listens. But what neither of them knows yet is that Esther is about to go from being a nobody, an orphan in the streets, to literally the most powerful woman in the empire. So here's what happens. King Xerxes needs a new queen, and he basically holds this empire-wide search. Women from all over are brought to the palace, and Esther is one of them. And when the king sees her, that's it. He chooses her. She becomes Queen Esther. Now, she's wearing royal robes, gold jewelry, living in the palace. But she still hasn't told anyone she's Jewish. Mordecai made her promise, and she's kept that promise. And for a while, things are actually okay. But then this guy Haman enters the story. And let me tell you about Haman. This is a man who is obsessed with power and respect. He gets promoted to basically second in command under the king, and he expects everyone to bow down to him when he walks by. Everyone does, except Mordecai. Mordecai refuses to bow because, as a Jew, he only bows to God. And this drives Haman absolutely insane. So Haman doesn't just want to punish Mordecai. No, he wants to wipe out all the Jews in the entire empire, and he tricks the king into signing a decree that sets a date for it. Literally, a government-sanctioned genocide. Scrolls go out to every province. The date is set. And Mordecai, when he hears this, he tears his clothes, puts on sackcloth, and starts mourning in the streets. So Esther hears that Mordecai is outside the palace in mourning clothes, and she's confused. She sends someone to ask him what's going on, and that's when Mordecai tells her everything. He sends back a copy of the decree and a message. You have to go to the king. You have to beg him to save our people. Now, here's the problem. There's a law in Persia that says if you approach the king without being summoned, you can be executed on the spot. The only exception is if the king holds out his golden scepter to you. If he doesn't, you die. And Xerxes hasn't called for Esther in 30 days. Esther sends a message back to Mordecai basically saying, I can't do this. I'll die. And this is where Mordecai says something that hits like a hammer. He tells her, don't think that just because you're in the palace, you'll escape. If you stay silent, deliverance will come from somewhere else, but you and your family will perish. And who knows? Maybe you were put in this position for such a time as this. Let that sit for a second. For such a time as this. Mordecai is telling her, maybe your whole life, everything that's happened to you, the loss, the pain, becoming queen, maybe it was all leading to this one moment. Esther makes her decision. She sends word back to Mordecai. Gather all the Jews in Susa and fast for me for 3 days. Don't eat, don't drink. I'll do the same. And then I'll go to the king. And then she says 3 words that give me chills every time. If I perish, I perish. She's not being dramatic. She's being honest. She knows there's a real chance she's about to die, but she's going to do it anyway. 3 days later, Esther puts on her royal robes, and she walks through the palace toward the throne room. I want you to think about what's going through her mind. Every step could be her last. She reaches the inner court. The guards are watching. The king is sitting on his throne, and she just stands there, waiting. The whole room goes silent. And then King Xerxes sees her, and slowly he extends the golden scepter. She can approach. She's alive. And now the real plan begins. Esther doesn't just blurt out her request. She's smart. She invites the king and Haman to a private banquet. They come, they eat, they drink, and the king asks her, "What do you want? I'll give you anything, up to half my kingdom." But Esther says, "Come back tomorrow, both of you. I'll tell you then." So Haman leaves feeling on top of the world. The queen invited him personally, twice. But that night, the king can't sleep. So he has someone read him the royal records, and he discovers that Mordecai once saved his life by uncovering an assassination plot, and was never rewarded. The next morning, Haman comes in planning to ask the king to execute Mordecai. But before he can, the king asks him, "What should I do for someone I want to honor?" Haman thinks he's talking about him, so he describes this huge public parade. And the king says, "Great, go do that for Mordecai." That night, at the second banquet, the king asks Esther again, "What do you want?" And this time, she tells him, "My people and I have been sold for destruction. There's a decree to annihilate us, and the man responsible is sitting right here." She points to Haman. The king is furious. Haman begs for his life, but it's over. He's executed on the very gallows he built for Mordecai. And the king issues a new decree allowing the Jews to defend themselves. The tables have completely turned. The Jews are saved. Across the empire, they defend themselves, and what was meant to be their destruction becomes their deliverance. Esther's courage didn't just save her own life, it saved an entire people. And here's what gets me. She didn't have superpowers. She wasn't a warrior. She was an orphan who became queen and had to make an impossible choice. And she chose to speak. Mordecai was right. She was put in that position for such a time as this. And because she didn't stay silent, history changed. So I'll leave you with this. Maybe you're in a moment right now where you have to decide whether to speak up or stay silent. Maybe you're wondering if your voice even matters. Esther's story is proof that it does. Sometimes courage isn't loud. Sometimes it's just 3 words. If I perish, I perish. If this story moved you, subscribe to Biblical Solutions for more powerful Bible stories and messages that build your faith. Thanks for watching.